good, just like this. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Drop the Gloves. That was take 2. We had to do a quick redo because my audio went down. But anyways, thanks for joining us here. We appreciate it. Tim's here from North Carolina. How you doing, Tim?
I'm good. I said the other day that Julia's out of town this week, so it's just been me and Levi and I hanging out. We've been staying up late, watching movies, eating junk food. It's been great. A lot of
Is
fun.
that why your tummy's all in a mess? Before we started recording, Tim said his tummy was a little upset.
Yeah, that might have something to do with it. Yeah, but it's fun. Yeah, we'll meet Julia down in Savannah on Friday at the end of the week. So I do want to talk to you about your restaurant recommendation, that bar that you mentioned, and all that. But yeah, it's been a good week. How are you?
I feel like she travels too much already. We need to discuss her work schedule. It
It's
seems like
like
she's gone a lot.
it's like 3 or 4 times a year. It's not that much. It comes up all the time because I talk about it when it happens. But no, it's not that much.
For the listeners of the show, maybe you can back me up here. Every time we record, your girlfriend's gone.
No,
It's more than three
no,
or four times.
no.
It's like twice a month. I feel like she's gone and she's gallivanting around and she's doing stuff. And if you're not watching on YouTube, I'm doing air quotes, working, whatever that means. She's just as a busy gal. I don't know. But anyways, I don't like it. I feel like she has to be at home more. We need to have a discussion about that.
She's a bird. Let her fly. She always comes back. She's fine. You know what's funny?
Mm,
I have a lot of people tell me they listen, like non-hockey fans, like aunts and uncles and neighbors and stuff that from back home that listen to like the first 5 or 10 minutes of every show just to get updates on our lives, and my life especially, and then as soon as we switch to hockey, they turn it off. Like they don't follow hockey, they just want to know what's Tim and John up to. And so a couple of weeks ago, Julie was like, "Hey, did you tell my parents about us getting hit by a car or almost getting hit?" And I was like, "No." It's like, did you talk to my mom? I was like, no, I know. And she's like, well, she's calling me about it, and she's freaking out and wondering why I didn't tell her. Turns out her mom listened to the show. So she was like, had, wind down time at the
oh
end of the
my
workday,
gosh.
listened to like the first few minutes of a few different episodes, including that one. So it's funny. Yeah, it's funny. And thank you. Shout out to Patty. Thank you for listening.
I don't think she should listen. I think she needs to mind her business because it changes how you're gonna talk because now you're gonna be all buttoned up and minding your P's and Q's and not just being full Tim. You know what I mean? So
I'm full Tim all the time. Don't worry about that.
do you know what minding your P's and Q's comes from?
No, do you?
It's minding your pints and quarts. It was an old saying in Britain for people who would just get drunk. Mind your pints and quarts. Don't get too drunk. And the wives would say it to the husbands when they would go off to the bar. So there you go. That's where it originated. But anyway, Patty, thank you for being a listener. Stop listening because I want Tim to just go full throttle and open up completely about how he doesn't like Julia leaving and it's affecting him and his life. So I appreciate it. But yeah, unsubscribe. Anyways, we got a lot to talk about because we don't do episodes anymore. We just are once a week at best. There's a lot of stuff going on. The end of the season, Tim, is upon us. Some teams are finishing up their season tonight. Other teams have 1 or 2 games left, but it's approaching quickly, and there's a lot of different things to talk about. So today we're just going to have a hodgepodge episode. No particular rhyme or reason behind anything. It's just hockey news. It's good, it's bad, it's whatever. And we're going to start with my former teammate, Logan Couture. He is expected to make an announcement today with Mike Greer in San Jose. And thanks to bum Frank Saravalli, he doesn't even get to let the cat out of the bag on his own. I talked to Logan when I was in San Jose this year. And I knew this news for a long time. But I'm not a douche. You know what I mean? I'm not a jerk. I let people have their privacy. And I know people are talking about this and, oh, it's the reporter's job and this and that. You got to give this guy his time. And Logan Couture has paid his price. He's 70 games away from 1,000 games. He's been a great professional. He's played his tail off for the San Jose Sharks for the better part of 2 decades. And he wants to go out the right way, and he wants to have his own, retirement press conference. And he doesn't get to do that because the cat's been let out of the bag by Frank Saravalli. All he reported is true. Logan cannot play. He's got some injury issues. He's been dealing with stuff for the last, it seems like 5 years. Logan's been in and out of the lineup, missing seasons. I think it's pelvic bone issue where it's just not healing and he can't skate, really. and it's a tragedy because he was one of the best playoff performers of all time, almost a point per game guy. But I don't know. It's an end of an era for San Jose. I know Pickles is still there, but he is hanging on by a thread. But that era of just a competitive, consistent Stanley Cup contender that you remember from the San Jose Sharks with the Pavelski, the Burns, the Vlasic, the Coutures, the Hurdles, Jumbo, myself, that era is gone. And it's kind of sad because Cooch was good. I caught him midway through his career when he was still a kid, and then he obviously transitioned into the captain, and he was a good captain. He did a good job, even though he was injured, and the Sharks were kind of in a rebuild. But he's not retiring, like we talked about in Slack. The guy's like, "Oh, he's retiring." No, he's still $8 million for the next 2 years, so he's not going to lose that money because as soon as you retire, you forfeit your contract. So they'll stash him away on LTI. That's why Shea Weber hasn't retired. I don't think Marian Hossa has retired officially. Pavel Datsyuk, Chris Pronger, all these guys are still suckling on the teat of, well, what was the Arizona Coyotes. So Logan will be around for a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think? Is Frank just doing his job reporting this?
Well, yes, in a sense of like, hey, he's a reporter. He has news. He's going to report it. But there's a code to it, just like there is with fighting. You know what I mean? Like there's a right and wrong way to do it, and there are times when you shouldn't do the thing that you're hired to do, and no one. This hurts nobody by sitting on it and letting him have his moment with the mic to control the message. And as soon as it was announced, everyone knew what this was. Like maybe not the minute details, but everyone knows it's the captain who hasn't played in seasons and the GM announcing together that he's not going to continue playing. Like you said, not officially retiring, but he's unable to continue his career, and he'll just collect his money and just formalize it. No one gets hurt if you just sit on the story, and nobody benefits by announcing it 24 hours in advance. So it's really strange. It's kind of disappointing, and people online are not happy with it. And people kind of recognize this for what it was. So yeah, it's kind of a bummer that he released that, and it seemed, this is just speculation, but it just seems like Frank is someone, he has a ton of sources. He's very good at what he does, but he seems like and again, this is my opinion, but most of his information is coming from the front offices, the organization. I don't think he's as tight with the players as some of the other insiders are. And I think it's because of stuff like this. He's not getting like the same player sources that someone like Elliott is. And I think this is the stuff people look at and say, hey, I don't trust you, man. So yeah, it's disappointing.
Yeah, I think you nailed it on the head. Players don't really care for him. I have firsthand, like I know Frank. I used to work on Nation Network. Like we have had many interactions, and I know the ins of the business. He works for Chicago hockey now. Kind of took my spot. That's another story for another day. The players don't like him because he does stuff like this. The GMs like him because he acts as an intercessor between them. So GMs are not allowed to talk. They're not allowed to discuss players, in certain time periods and before the trade deadline, this, that, and before the July 1st signing period. He'll talk to agents, talk to GMs. He'll be that mediary between them. And he'll basically negotiate sometimes between agents and coaches and GMs and play. Like it's all somewhat legal, but super shady. And that's how Frank goes about his business. But I feel like he's just lost a lot of his credibility. Players don't like him. Bob McKenzie, loved across the board by the players. Absolutely loved. And I think Frank was going to be that next guy, the insider. He didn't really work out at TSN. He's trying his own thing now, and it's going okay. But Bob was just loved. He just got it. He never, stepped on players' toes when they had to make a big important announcement like this. And it stinks for Logan because he wants the moment. And he wants to just come out and say, "Hey, like this is what's going on." But now we can't. All the questions are going to be like, "Oh, Frank we reported and this and that." So it's too bad for Cooch.
And I hope that no one asked him about Frank's reporting, because he shouldn't have to answer
I
that. You know
know.
what I mean? And think about like how many viral tweets could you send out that are true, not just like making stuff up, about your conversations with Logan or Taze or other guys like that, where you could share information and be the insider that's spreading it and get, trending or whatever, but you don't do it because you care about these guys. Anyway, I don't want to spend
Well,
a lot of
and
time.
it's a double-edged sword where I could because I have a lot of information, but you want to still be friends with the players, and you want their respect. So as soon as you do that one or two times, you just get burnt. The players know. And I've had instances where I'm in the locker room and a guy will come in and the players are like, "We're not talking to you." Like, you could beat it. It's not going to happen. And the guys are just, they leave. So you lose all credibility, and any kind of relationship you have with the players are shot. And I think Frank is towing that line very, very dangerously. But moving on, just to put a bow on that, not a Hall of Famer, Cooch. Won't get his jersey retired in San Jose, but just a great career. One franchise, did a lot of good stuff, and nothing to be ashamed of. 70 games to 1,000, though. That's got to sting. So close, so close. Just saw him. Like I said, he looks great. He's doing great. He's in a good mental spot. But yeah, it's got to be hard to kind of step away, not on your own terms. That's very difficult.
Are there any requirements in situations like that where, like, can he just go home and never come to the rink and never have a meeting? Or is it like, is he supposed to come to like certain events or certain times a year where he has to show up as a player, or can he just collect that paycheck?
He is collected. I think there's an agreement. Technically, if the team was being a jerk, you'd have to show up for preseason and do your physical to give them the okay that you're not healthy. But I think across the board, they know what's going on. So he doesn't have to show up. They'll have an agreement. He lives in San Jose. I'm sure he'll have some impact with the team, whether it's for fans or charity or whatever. He's still the captain. But I think this is why they're doing the press conference. They're going to take the seat away from him, give it to Macklin, and start the new wave of this franchise. So, all right, good for Logan. It's tough. Talking about a guy leaving the NHL, Tim, transitioning to a guy entering the NHL. One of the most anticipated first games I've seen in a long time. We had Connor Bedard last year. Everybody was all over that. You had Celebrini this year. Not a lot of fanfare for that. Ivan Demidov, the number 5th overall pick for the Montreal Canadiens last year, playing in the KHL, finally got his release, made it over to North America, made his debut yesterday. And what a debut it was, playing the Chicago Blackhawks. First shift, dynamite. Absolutely dynamite. Difference maker, you could tell. As soon as he touches the puck, he's just dangling. He's patient. He's poised. He's making good hockey plays. He could have had 4 or 5 assists last night. He's setting up Lane Hudson. He's setting up other guys for grade A scoring opportunities. But this is it. This was the piece that the Montreal Canadiens needed. They will beat the Washington Capitals in round 1 because of Ivan Demidov. I'm saying it right now. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. They got him. He shores up their second line. Their third line's already rock solid. They have a great first line. Their defense is okay. And their goaltender's playing very, very strong. And you got Lane Hudson. I'm just saying, this guy is a huge get for this team. It's not like a guy coming out of college like a Ryan Leonard. He's playing pro hockey in the KHL. There's a difference between the KHL and the NCAA. You're playing with men. You're playing with young men. He's tremendous, and he scores a goal in his 5th shift, I think. So the first period ends. He's got 1 goal, 1 assist. He's playing great. The Bell Center is rocking. Did you see this, Tim? What do you think of this Ivan Demidov fellow?
Oh, it was awesome. Yeah. And you could see that. So he scored, and there's like a little break in the play, and the crowd just goes nuts. Standing ovation, and they're all cheering for one thing. And he knows that. The camera's on him, but showing him on the bench. He's like wiping his face and smiling, kind of like hiding his face a little bit. Like he knows the spotlight's on him. He's humble, he's embarrassed, I don't know, but you know that he also appreciates it. So really cool. And the way that he scored, the way his face lit up, and even on the assist when he set up with a new hook that scored.
Yep.
And I forget who the third guy in the line was, but he went right to not the new hook who scored, but the Demidov. That's who we pointed to. Like, hey, you made this play. This is your first point. Like, this is cool. So I love that stuff. I love when debuts go as well as you anticipate them. And the whole building knew exactly what this was. And then you think about like the Suzuki's, Slafkovsky, Caulfield, Line, Newhook, and then Lane Hudson's doing what he's doing. It's hard not to get excited about this team. And then, of course, they ended up losing that game in a shootout to the Blackhawks, which is kind of frustrating for me as a hockey fan because, like, Montreal, you need this win. Chicago, you need this loss. You should be going for that lottery pick. So, although Chicago is building some nice momentum now, I think this is kind of some culture building weeks for them that'll hopefully transition to next year. But yeah, Montreal they got one huge point, but they're not done. They're not in just yet.
No, they play Carolina for the last game, and Columbus needs to win out to get in. But yeah, anything is possible. Montreal's second line, Tim. We can't sleep on them with Josh Anderson, and Brendan Gallagher is having a great season. He really, really is. And Christian Dvorak, kind of a jack of all trades, kind of does everything very well. I'm not saying they're going to be favorites by any means, but with the addition of Demidov and that third line, They already had a good first two lines. It makes them that much more dangerous. And actually, kind of a strange lineup change. Martin St. Louis put Patrick Laine on the fourth line last night. So we'll see how that pans out. He had Joel Armia skating with Demidov and Newhook, and they looked really good. But we'll see how all this plays out. Demidov didn't get much power play time, so maybe he might jump up into that first power play unit. But I don't know. I like this. This is a good player. And oh boy, all the people will start talking about why didn't we take him second overall, third overall, fourth overall? He's a hell of a player. People were worried about him getting out of Russia, the KHL allowing him to come to North America because he was so young. He's only 19 years of age. They had his control. Oh boy, looky what he's doing already in one game. He's a hell of a player.
Right, and it is just one game, so I'm trying not to get put the cart before the horse, the whole thing. But this is a great example of what goes right with the Russian, because like you said, he should have gone not first, but second, third. And why did all these teams pass on him? Part of it is the whole Russian thing. How long is it going to take him to get over here? Will he have any trouble? All that stuff. And then he comes over right away and joins them for a playoff rush and has 2 points in his debut. It's wild to think about. And it's really, really exciting for them. And also, he's a very prototypical Russian. Where there's another play where he was he put the brakes on a back check and allowed the Hawks to score. So it's okay, this is he going to be Semin, or is he going to be Kaprizov? And and they're both very good players, but we'll see what kind of comes out of that.
Yeah, Blackhawks got a first-hand look of him. The Hawks had the second pick, and they picked that Lushuvnov from Michigan State. And, of course, the Ducks and the Blue Jackets picked safer picks from North America. I think they got Seneke and then Caden Lindstrom, the Blue Jackets guy. So I think there'll be a lot of buyer's remorse not picking this guy because he's staying. He will be in the NHL for the next 15 years. And that lineup looks very fun.
Speaking of Columbus, they won again. So now they have a chance. They should be out, but they're not. So they must win out. They need both wins to come in regulation versus the Flyers and the Islanders. And they need Montreal to lose in regulation. They can't get a single point. Tonight is the game. If those three things happen, the Blue Jackets will make the playoffs and Montreal won't. I hope Montreal, for all the reasons we've talked about, is the team, but it's worth just keeping an eye on. And by the way, before we move on from Montreal, Lane Hutson now has 65 points, which is the most in the history of a franchise by rookie D-men. John, Montreal, that's an original 16. That's incredible what he's doing. It's historic.
Yeah, that's some good defensemen. They're talking Chris Chelios and Larry Robinson and some high end offensive defensemen coming through that organization. And for him to do what he's doing, it's one thing to do it. No offense to San Jose, no offense to even a town like Philly. You're doing it in Montreal, the most pressure-packed market. Maybe Toronto rivals them, but Montreal, it's just all hockey. Toronto has basketball, Toronto has baseball. Montreal is a single-track town. It's really incredible what he's doing. The poise, even the criticism he was getting earlier in the season when he was turning the puck over, people were making fun of his head shakes. You think he would change his game? No. He didn't. He just stayed the course, and he got a little more just matured on the ice and was making smarter plays. He's a hell of a hockey player. This is Calder. This is Norris. This is MVP. It's not this year. In the future, he will be a Cale Makar type player if he continues his trajectory. He's a hell of a hockey player. Yeah, good for him, man. Very good for him.
What's up, guys? Tim here. Listen, if you've been listening to the show for a while, then you know that I have an adopted rescue dog named Levi. He was around 6 when I got him. He's 8 now, and he's the sweetest and most loving companion you could ever hope to know. Dog owners know what I'm talking about. You want the best for your pets to help them live as happily and healthily as possible. That's why we partnered with The Farmer's Dog. The Farmer's Dog makes feeding real healthy dog food easy and convenient, and your dog will absolutely love it. Levi is obsessed, and he's been licking his bowl clean every day. The Farmer's Dog makes and delivers fresh, healthy dog food right to your door. It's developed by vets, nutritionally balanced, and made from real meat and veggies to the same safety standards of human food. A healthy diet isn't just important for people. It has all kinds of benefits for dogs, too. From healthier coat and skin to better breath, even easier digestion. Levi's energy has been so much better since making the switch, and he looks forward to mealtime in a way that he never has before. The package came in and everything was personalized with Levi's name. I mean it when I say these guys love pets the same way that you do. And now you can join the movement and get 50% off your first box of fresh, healthy food at thefarmersdog.com/gloves. Plus, you get free shipping. Just go to thefarmersdog.com/gloves to get 50% off. That's thefarmersdog.com/gloves.
So let's go out west next. The Oilers and the Kings, as we mentioned last week, are officially going to play each other for the fourth straight season. And the Kings last night, with their victory, clinched home advantage for that series. But this game was interesting. The Oilers scratched a few of their players for maintenance, whatever, including some of their best players, right? And then the game gets really chippy. It was very physical. There was a specific incident with Darnell Nurse where he body slammed Quentin Byfield and then punches him in the back of the head while he's
cross-checks him in the neck. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a few other incidents like that. So the game gets really chippy, and you think, okay, this is setting up really well. We know these teams don't like each other. They're playing each other yet again. This is going to really build really well for the playoffs. And then after the game, Philip Deneau from the Kings was interviewed, and he said, quote, "I think they just have their B squad in trying to hurt us." And basically the point is like, yeah, they know this game doesn't really matter. They're just trying to get our star guys hurt with a bunch of their players, riding the pine. Corey Perry responded. He said, "I mean, what do you expect?" Excuse my language. You dropped an F-bomb there. "What do you want us to do? Did he not look at what's happened over the last couple of weeks? What does he want us to do? We're not trying to hurt anyone. I don't know. Move on." So what do you make of these comments from Deneau and Perry?
Well, I don't think they're out there trying to hurt people, but they're not trying to not hurt them. Listen, they're without Ekholm, Frederick, Draisaitl, Hyman, Wallman, Stetcher, McDavid. And Kane could probably play because he's going to be back game one for the playoffs, I'm assuming. So they played with one fewer guys than they could. They only dressed 19 guys for this game. So it's, if you're the opposing team and then they come out and they start running around and doing this crap, what do you expect us to say? You're not trying to win the game. The Kings lambasted them 5-0. It wasn't even a close game, but I know if you're Deneau, you take a stand. But Corey Perry's like, beat it. It's just good fodder for us. It's going to be a great series. Very rarely do two teams meet in the playoffs 4 years in a row, and Edmonton has just owned them. 3 years ago they went in 7. 2 years ago they went in 6. Last year they went in 5. This year things are going to change. I think this Edmonton team is not the same team that made it to the Stanley Cup Finals last year and went to Game 7. They desperately miss Broberg, Holloway. They're injured. They're limping into this playoffs. And I get where Corey Perry's coming from. He's like, hey, man, have you not seen what's been going on here the last 2 weeks? It's a mash unit out here. Guys are hurt. We're trying to just cobble together a team and get to the playoffs. So just leave us alone. It'll be a fun series. These guys don't like each other. Drew Doughty obviously has some history with Connor McDavid and these guys, and it's going to be a great series. But, Tim, I'm not going to give them my picks just yet. But LA's going to win.
That would be fun. Yeah, I was kind of disappointed they were playing each other yet again, but I am excited for this series, and this game proved why, so I think it'll be a lot of fun. The next team I want to talk about, the New York Rangers. So they were officially eliminated the other day, and you have these weird situations where, like, Laviolette is talking about how he doesn't even go in the room after the game anymore. They were losing 4-0, and he's, like, not even talking on the bench. He's lost the room, obviously. You have, like, Savannah. By the way, Alexis Lafreniere, that was one of my bold picks, which we should do maybe on Thursday, revisit our bold picks from the season. I had him leading the team in points with, like, 92 points or something like that. 45. He has 45 points.
Really?
Not
45?
Good.
Oh, man.
45, 17 goals.
Wow.
And this is, it's brutal. Don't get me started. So what's really interesting is that after the game, there's a reporter for the Rangers named Molly Walker. She tweeted out, Calvin DeHaan just walked past us as he was about to get on the ice and commented on how it's all finally over. He said something to the effect of, quote, "How about the way I've been treated here? It's effed. We asked if he wanted to talk. He said yes, and he would be, quote unquote, very transparent." Then, a little while later, DeHaan came back out and said he wouldn't say anything until after the season was over. And the implication was that he had some kind of conversation with either the Rangers coaching or PR or someone on the staff. And he said, what, let's just wait till, a couple more games. I didn't really realize this. I knew they traded for him right before the deadline.
Yeah, he was a part of the Lindgren trade.
Yes. He played 3 games. He recorded an assist and was a +4 in those 3 games. And then he didn't touch the ice again for the rest of the season. I don't understand that. And he's not obviously he's not McAvoy or Slavin or Fox or those guys, but he's also He's a very good, doesn't make a lot of mistakes, like simple game that coaches rely on to get through 60 minutes. And exactly what the Rangers would benefit from. Why I don't understand this. What do you make of this situation?
Don't understand it whatsoever. It just when you try to wrap your head around things that seem so normal and just common sense stuff, and it goes against common sense, you just bang your head against a wall. The fact that they're playing Keandre Miller still boggles my mind. He's terrible. Like I was in on Keandre Miller a few years ago. He is just awful this season. I don't know what's going on with him. And poor Calvin DeHaan is just going through it must suck going from a contending team in Colorado, who is one of the best teams in the West when you get traded, and he's playing good minutes, 16 to 20 minutes a game. And you go to the crappy New York Rangers, who have a garbage defense, and you get healthy scratched. I can see why he's frustrated. But I think this is a Chris Drury problem. This is a Peter Laviolette problem. There is just no cohesion there between those two guys. I don't think Laviolette wanted DeHaan. I probably think he liked Lindgren and he was upset he got traded. I don't know what the deal is there, but it doesn't make sense to me when you don't have this guy in the lineup. And the fact that the thing that shows me the Rangers don't know what they're doing, they traded Jimmy Vesey in that trade too. He was a healthy scratch with the Rangers, in and out of the lineup. He goes to Colorado, Tim, and now he's on the third line. He's playing great for a Stanley Cup contending team. It just shows mismanagement of player talent and how to deploy people. And I just don't think they know what they're doing there. Something needs to go. Either Laviolette needs to be fired or Chris Drury needs to go. This team has no business being where they are in the standings. You have the best goalie on the planet, and you suck. Like you're very terrible. Did they not win the President's Trophy last year?
They did. They're the fourth team in history to miss the playoffs after winning the President's Trophy. And then so you add Calvin DeHaan's comments onto Capo Caco, who said, quote, "The Rangers have a tendency to pick a young player out of the lineup." Yep. Zach Jones said he was, quote unquote, rotting away because he was constantly taken out of the lineup. Jimmy Vesey said I feel like he was dying due to being taken out of the lineup inconsistently. So it's weird that it's a Laviolette thing for sure. It is a mismatch between him and Drury. You're right. So the Rangers have a problem. This is the real problem. And one of the things I'm thinking about that we could dedicate a whole segment to, if not a whole episode, is which teams have the most important offseason this summer. The Rangers are high up on that list. There's obviously like the Red Wings, the Sabres, some of those teams. The Rangers are right near the top for all these reasons. So it's interesting to see what they do. And then DeHaan, will he join a show like ours or Chicklets or whatever, or speak to the media and really air what he wants to say? Because I'm sure there's going to be more.
Yeah, and don't forget about Jacob Trouba at the start of the season, what he said. He was not happy with how his situation played out, pretty much threatening him to waive his no-trade clause or they're going to put him on a waiver. So this organization is not in a good spot, and something needs to change, and it has to start from the top. So Dolan needs to readjust his upper management class, but we'll see if he has the chutzpah to do that, because Chris Drury, it's like when you hire these Hall of Famers, Tim. Chris Drury's loved in New York. He's absolutely beloved. The Cam Neelys of the world, Brendan Shanahan's, the Steve Yzermans. How do you fire him? How do you go about that process? So we'll see what happens. All right, we'll stay out east. The Rangers' ugly redheaded stepchild, the New Jersey Devils' Paul Cotter, has been suspended for 2 games for an illegal check to the head of New York Islanders' Adam Pelech. Justified? Warranted? Merited? What do you think, Tim?
Warranted. Yeah, dirty hit. I think it's just exactly right. He'll sit out the final 2 games of the season and be back for the playoffs. So not really a ton in the way of consequences. I'm sure he forfeited some salary too. But yeah, this is a bad hit that I thought was worth 2 games.
Yeah, I looked at it. I went back and forth. The thing that does it for Paul Cotter is his approach is nice and fine, but he could have bailed out and not made contact, but he leans in at the last second. Pelech is in a kind of vulnerable spot, dumping the puck in, and he decides to lean in at the last second, and he catches Pelech right in the head, and he's down for the count, right shoulder to head. And that did the goons who do these radio shows, these former fighters, they're all about the hit. They don't see, Adam Pelech, and they don't see the impact it has on him. Paul Bissonnette trying to defend this disgusting hit. It makes me sick to my stomach. So,
by the way, Frank just tweeted out that Darnell Nurse is going to have a hearing or a call about the play last night. So he could
Yeah,
end up getting some suspensions too, and that would have playoff implications.
that'd be great for the Oilers. It'd be actually a benefit. So no, he should be suspended. He got a major on the play, cross-checked him right in the back of the head. Just not.
Yeah.
It's just a stupid play. And Quentin Byfield's having a great second. Quentin Byfield, point per game guy since February. Playing great hockey. Like really, really solid. Just I think matched his career high yesterday with 56, 65, something like that. But yeah, he's having a great season. But yeah, I don't know. He's not going to get suspended. He might get some kind of fine. All right. Rick Tocchet says,
Another.
"Oh, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Well,
ahead.
another dirty hit. Another bad play here. It's a
I
big
don't think
theme.
it's dirty.
No?
No.
Do you see it?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I saw it.
Okay. So Rick Tocchet, the head coach of the Oilers, said that Derek Forbort suffered a broken orbital bone after taking that late pitch from Yakov Trenin the other night. So that was basically a fight that they squared up. Forbort goes down, the refs start to come in, and then like through the ref's arms, you see Trenin throw another one at Forbort on the ice, which is one of those things where obviously it happens, but it's kind of a violation of the code. Like you don't knock,
yeah.
this is the MMA, right? So this is dirty, I think.
Definitely a dirty play. But let me just preface this where Forbort tried to do the same thing to Trenin. And I watched it a couple times and I'm trying to see why, everyone's up in arms. Trenin's punch is dirty. Forbort's on his back and he just comes right down the middle and buries him right in the face. Dirty, dirty, dirty. I think the reason Trenin did that was because 2 seconds before that, Forbort does it to Trenin, but it's not as bad. But then he tries to do another punch when Trenin's on his back, but he hits his shoulder. So I'm guessing Trenin maybe felt that and said, well, if you're going to hit me when I'm on the ice, fair play. I'm coming right back at you. And he got him right on the button. So it is what it is. It happens. Guys do. It's so funny how it's a knee-jerk reaction. Either you are that guy or you're not. If you see a guy on the ice, you either have it in you or you don't. I just never had it in me. I never punched a guy on the ice. You go through and look at all my fights. I never once hit a guy when he was down. I didn't even hit a guy when he was standing up because I was like, fight's over. And Trenin even when I was pissed, I was just like, dangerous. So I get where Rick Tocchet's coming from. Forbort, you got to be more aware. But he buries him. I don't know. Is suspension worthy? No. This happens all the time. Guys punch when guys in the ice all the time. This would set a dangerous precedent if they suspend him for doing this, because this happens quite often in scrums and fights and in all aspects of hockey. So this is a very slippery slope if they suspend him here.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Cool news here. Jeff Skinner, after 15 seasons being stuck in Buffalo forever and Carolina, and when they were bad, he played over 1,000 games. He's now going to play in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Now, he's been a disappointing signing by every metric for the Oilers. He's been health bombed. He's been everything. But he's going to get a chance to finally play in the playoffs, which I think is a cool story. And he's a likable player, obviously, so good for him.
Yeah, 28 points this season. Definitely, like you said, a huge disappointment, but golly jeepers. That's an amazing stat. Over 1,000 games played regular season and never once made the playoffs. I wonder how many times he was just so close and they missed out in the last week of the season. But good for him. We'll see what he's made of, Jeff Skinner. Who knows? He could just be an amazing playoff performer, and we just haven't had the opportunity. But I think it'll be a short stint for him in the playoffs, unfortunately.
Kevin Weeks let out a report that all indications are the Florida Panthers said that Matthew Tkachuk will return for Game 1 of the playoffs, barring a setback. No surprise there. I think this was always intended to happen, but still good update and good for the Panthers to have him back in the lineup because he's probably their most important player in the playoffs.
Yeah, color me surprised. This has been the plan all along. He's coming in. They use that cap space to grab some players at the trade deadline, and here we go. They're going to have him. They're going to have Marchand. Ekblad's going to be back, and all of a sudden they are loaded again. So good for him. Good for the Florida Panthers. And now Seth Jones gets a crack at it because if they don't have that money, Seth Jones is nowhere near Florida at this point.
Yeah, I forgot they got him. So crazy. Crazy.
Crazy, man.
What?
You know what else is crazy? You know what else is crazy? First time in NHL history that all 4 teams in the U.S.-based Original 6 group are not making the playoffs. That's terrible. It's embarrassing. It really is embarrassing because these teams should be destinations for players to go to. I blame Steve Yzerman.
For all
He
four?
should, for all four. He should know better. Boston's on the downward, trajectory. Chicago's in rebuild mode. The Rangers are an absolute disaster. And Stevie Y, this was his year to really step up and hold the mantle for the original six, because he's just been fumbling it for the last 7 years in Detroit. But he didn't. He sucks. The team sucks. So I blame him. Way to go, Steve. Way to ruin what, 100 and some years the NHL's been in existence, and this scenario has never happened. Whoa. Way to go. Yzerman, Drury, Davidson, Neely, or Sweeney. Great job, you guys. Way to go. Who's going to make the playoffs next out of these four? That's the question. Because it ain't Chicago and it ain't Detroit.
Yeah.
Is it the Rangers? Maybe bounce back year next year. Boston. I don't know. This could be a trend, a sign of things to come for these four teams. Unfortunately.
Yeah. Let me ask you this question the other way around. Which of these four teams will be the last to make the playoffs next? Who's the furthest away from contending?
Detroit.
Over Boston?
Yeah, I don't mind Boston. They don't have any bad contracts. I think they'll figure it out, and they have some good players. When you get a Pasternak and a McAvoy,
I guess,
you
but
have
you're
an
so
advantage.
down on Boston, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
you mentioned Detroit. Well, okay, Boston's not that bad.
No.
It's just-
I was up on Boston because they traded Carlo, they traded Marchand, they traded Frederick. They cleaned house. I
Coyle.
gave them their prop. Everybody, Tim. They got rid of everybody. That frees them up to improve their team next year and the year after. Detroit didn't do that. They just sat on their hands and did nothing, and we're going to go into next season with this same exact crew. Nice, real nice. Smart job, Stevie Y. In Chicago, they've been in rebuild mode for the last 3-4 years, so I get that. And the Rangers, they're just so dumpster fire. So I know, I think Boston, they're in a great spot to get to the playoffs in the next couple of years, for sure.
I saw a report this morning that I think it was from 98.5, which is Ty Anderson, our old friend of the show that covers the Bruins, reported on his own show that Korpisalo was, quote unquote, not happy with the amount of playing time he got this season.
Shut your mouth. Who cares?
So, yeah, I mean, I think it has to do with, hey, Swayman was not good. Like, why couldn't you have given me some more chances to get the start? Which is fair enough, but he is not Jeremy Swayman, obviously. Which makes me ask you the question of, like, if you're a fringe starter, if you're the 13th forward, 7th skater, backup goalie, whatever, 7th defenseman, what's the mindset when the guy's like, you want your team to do well, but you want just the next guy to play poorly so you can get back in the ice? Is that fair?
Yeah, I don't know. With the goalie, it's a different thing because you have one guy to beat on the depth chart. That's it. And if he's playing bad, you have to think that you would get the start. But this isn't like Jonas Korpisalo is putting up Connor Hellebuck numbers. The guy's got a sub-9 save percentage, and his goals against is 2.9 because he plays against garbage teams. So it's like, just get your house in order, as Jordan Peterson said. Make your own bed first before you start throwing stones, because you're not this guy. You know what I mean? And then the Bruins, and you got to read the writing on the wall. They just invested $64 million in a goaltender. The team will play him, even if he's playing bad, to get him to work through it. So just shut your mouth. It's just tone deaf, absolutely tone deaf. Your team is in last place in the Eastern Conference. You got handed to this team by the Ottawa Senators because they did not want you. And now you're bitching about playing time? What's going on? Like, I don't understand how players even say these things. It doesn't make sense. All right, on to some good news. Western Michigan, the Broncos, won the national championship this past weekend. A great game. They overcame, I think they had a double overtime win in the semifinals. They get to the finals. They win 5-2. Fantastic. Good for them. First national championship for that school. Very fun to watch. We saw them last year in the GLI team, and they were incredible. Very high octane offense. A lot of those guys returned this season, so good for them. Kind of a lesser known school to win the national championship.
It is, yeah, and not one that I am particularly, rooting for in any sense, because I like BC, I like BU less, but I like BU, and I like Michigan State, and some of these other teams, one that all eyes were on, and some of those Midwestern teams, North Dakota, Denver, all that stuff. It's Western Michigan, and it's cool because this isn't the school that wins a whole lot. You know what I mean? Like, this is their team. This is who puts them on the map, and it's really cool. And I think they were the only team in the tournament, or at least in the finals, that didn't have an NIL contract. Like, they're not getting like the top of recruits. They're just, developing their program in-house and doing a really good job and just outworking their opponents. So it's great to see.
It's nice when these little schools, you mentioned BU, BC, Michigan State, hockey is just not to the same level as maybe other sports. Michigan State, especially, they have football, they have basketball. Hockey is maybe fourth on that list. Western Michigan, I think their only D1 sport is hockey, much like Michigan Tech, where I went. It's a big deal for these guys. So they're going to come back to Western Michigan. They're going to rule that town. It's going to be fantastic. It's, from what I've heard, it's a very good like party school. I've talked to a lot of guys who have went there, and it's a good time. So good for West. It's nice. It's a good story. David beat Goliath in the national championship. Good for them. All right, what can we look forward to tonight, Tim?
Yeah, the last thing I want to touch on are the games tonight. Just a couple of things to keep an eye on if you're watching these games. So Toronto can clinch the Atlantic if they get 1 point versus the Sabres, which I think is a pretty fair bet. And then that would obviously get them into playing the Ottawa Senators, which is going to be a lot of fun. And most likely that's the outcome anyway, but just, worth keeping an eye on. The Blue Jackets, I already mentioned, can keep their hopes alive with a win over the Flyers. They're 4 points behind the Canadiens with one game in hand. But the most exciting thing is the wild card race in the West. This is kind of like, there's still three teams that are in the mix here for two spots. So the Wild have 95 points, the Blues have 94 points, but the Flames are still right there with 92. And all three play tonight, and all three are home teams. The Blues have Utah. That's a game they probably would like to win. The Wild have the Ducks. That's a game they probably expect to win as well. The Flames are the Golden Knights. That's not a great game, except that, or not a great victory to expect, except that a lot of the teams that have clinched are playing 500 or even sub 500 hockey over the last couple of weeks. We're talking about the Capitals of the world and the Florida Panthers and the Lightning. Like, a lot of these teams are just getting into playoff mode. So Vegas Golden Knights doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get their A effort. So we could see all three of these teams win tonight. So it'll be interesting to watch.
Yeah, I think Calgary, they're playing great hockey. But St. Louis, you cannot rip off 12, 13 wins in a row and then not make the playoffs. How big of an epic fail would that be if you had that going for you and then you just blow it in the last 6 games of the season? So we'll be watching. It'll be great if Calgary wins and they tie St. Louis. Their last game, they have to win that last game to get into the playoffs. So I'll be watching. Tim will be watching. I hope you guys watch too. We will check you guys later. But thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you guys Thursday. Cheers, everybody. Bye.